Steve Higgins, before we go, what a show. Two of them, Ron Shiro, Don Unessa. Explain
in my glory
to the audience who these two gentlemen are.
Don Unessa, the lead coach, MAC coach, looked up to Coach Bruno. Coach Bruno thought a lot of him. Even though Coach Unessa never beat Coach Bruno, he tied him one year. But he learned a lot from Coach Bruno. Ronnie Shiro, again, great player, great coach. I grew up watching Ronnie playing sandlot baseball, Little League, Pony League. So I could tell you all about Ronnie Shiro.
This is why I love spending time with him. So you brought up a point that I would have never connected the dots, and you have no idea where I'm going with this. But I do remember you, and we backed it up tonight when Ronnie came in.
Yeah.
After his junior year, he decided not to play basketball anymore.
Ronnie was a player his junior year for basketball for Beaver Falls, highly counted on for the 70 season by Coach Chan to come back, and probably would have started. Who knows if Hal McClain would have been the greatest sixth man in the state if Shiro would have been there.
What did they do in 1970?
Well, they won the first state championship in school history, and Shiro didn't play. That was his senior year, but he was into baseball and football that year. That's okay.
Good quarterback, huh?
Oh, one of the best ever. I mean, you think Beaver Falls, we've had probably some of the best quarterbacks ever around this area.
What did you tell Unessa before he left? Every player that played quarterback for Larry Bruno
played in college. And he coached 9 Division I quarterbacks in 20 years. And all the other guys went Division II and Division III. Every single, I thought there was one break in there, but then I did some research and found out no. Pat Doherty went to college at West Colorado. And he was the one that I thought maybe didn't play in college. Every single quarterback that Coach Bruno coached played in college.
Here's something even better. So Unessa's getting ready to leave. And I just told him this, and he's way too modest. Played at Alabama, played at Pitt, rarefied air, something you should be really proud of. But also, Unessa's getting ready to leave, and you said, where'd you play college at? Or no, he asked Shiro. Shiro said, Kentucky, and I finished at Slippery Rock. And Unessa said New Mexico State.
Right.
So being from New Brighton, my wheels started spinning about Poe James.
Poe James.
But Don Unessa actually played as a sophomore, high school. Ditka's a senior, okay? But here's the other thing. He played against part of the fearsome foursome, Merlin Olsen in college.
Unessa went up against Merlin Olsen in college.
You can't write this stuff.
My God. I never knew that.
But as
played right over him during the game.
As flamboyant as Don Unessa, and I love him, and he is, and this is why I love guys like Render and all these guys. There's so much of the backstory. I've known Don Unessa forever. I owe him and Render and so many others everything. My career, I'm grateful. They kind of helped me along early on, and they're still here for me today. I love them like a brother from another mother. I never knew Unessa, and I said, well, how did Poe James get to New Mexico State of all the places he went?
He told the story because of him.
But that's what goes on here. I mean, people have and that's why Joe Namath is such an important cog in the wheel. But Joe will be the first to tell you, he was just a spoke in that wheel because there's so many of these stories from Western Pennsylvania.
So many of these stories. That's why you asked me, you make a big deal about me playing at Bama, which I appreciate that. But I feel like I'm just one of the guys because you got all these Don Unessas that have these stories. And I talked to guys that played, like Butch Russo played on that 65 team, and I knew that they had a few good players. But he starts naming off all these guys that went Division I from that team, and he's blowing my mind. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, there's so many. The culture is just so rich in Beaver County.
He has a program here from when Ditka was playing at Aliquippa, and Unessa was a sophomore on that football team.
Yeah, I have one on the wall. It's a program, and it's a lineup because I wanted people to see that Mike Ditka played at against Beaver Falls because you're only as good as your opponents, okay? Unessa walks up and says, I played in that game. I was a sophomore during that year, and he told us a story, which, like I told you before,
go ahead.
That's why I know so much.
You do, man.
Because people come in and tell me stories.
Good story.
And he told me a story about a player for Beaver Falls that broke a leg of an Aliquippa player. Not on purpose. It happens in football.
Yeah, right. That's when you could block below the waist.
He broke the guy's leg, and Ditka went berserk. And these stories that are so rich, they're just stories that I could pass on to people, the kids when they come in, and it's just it's so enriching to have him here.
Listen, as we move forward, we're going to continue to try to promote, but any way you can help out, anything you have to donate, get a hold of him. We would love to be able to put it and enshrine it into the Larry Bruno Foundation, the magical coach. Okay, every single Sunday, we pick our weekly winners against the spread, and it's all because of betrivers.net, that line, that's where we follow every week, and it's Ted Arnaud, of course, many years at Mountaineer, Presque Isle, and of course, great places like the Meadows, that George Leon name, Leon's Billiards and more. Always fascinated by it. I was at Rivers Casino the other night. Great food, great entertainment, a wonderful evening. And if you've never been to Rivers Casino to watch a football game or spend football Sundays, you're really missing out. But tonight, we're going to give him an opportunity to test his skill set when it comes to picking the winners against the spread. First off, Jaden Daniels wasn't enough because Saquon Barkley rushed for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Philadelphia defeated Washington last night. So that one's already in the books. Now, the early game Sunday, New England with Drake May, the young quarterback, getting 4.5 against the Rams. Who do you like?
I like the Rams. They're having a good year this year. They're an upscale team. I think they're a playoff team, and I like them.
So you were a wide receiver. Cooper Kupp is a wide receiver. Puka is a receiver. What's the difference between receivers today and when you played? Is it speed, strength, all of the above? What is it?
Well, today the size thing has to be, you have to be tall, you have to be fast, you have to fit all those parameters. Back in my day, you could be 6 foot, 170, still be an effective receiver. Remember Jimmy Cephalo?
Oh, yeah, Miami.
And Biletnikoff and guys like that.
Yeah.
They had a big place in the NFL where now you see very few guys like that. But you have to have this. They have to have the physical tools. But yeah, I mean, some of the things that you have to possess is fundamental football, just like getting off the line as a receiver. You have to be able to get off the line. Some DBs, some receivers can't even get off the line. So you have to have that skill.
Joe had Maynard, and Daryl LaMonica, the Mad Bomber from Notre Dame, had Biletnikoff. Did you know Biletnikoff's from Erie, Pennsylvania? I never knew that.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's that wheel. All right, here we go. Mm-hmm. Tennessee getting 6 against Minnesota. Go ahead.
I take Tennessee with the points. I mean, Minnesota, they're both kind of even and kind of middle. I'll go with Tennessee on that one.
All right, Cleveland getting 2 against New Orleans.
Well, boy, I'll go with the Browns on that with the points. New Orleans is kind of down this year. I don't know if it's too late in the season for them to be playing for a draft pick next year, but they're not doing too well.
Indianapolis getting 3 against the Jets, and Richardson will start, not Joe Flacco. Listen, I mentioned this. You see, this is why I love the Jets, because of Joe. It's all about Joe. They're my second favorite team, obviously. And in some cases, it's hard to pick when they take on the Steelers because I love Joe so much and I love the Jets. What's up with Aaron Rodgers?
See, that's why I love you so much, Rob, because the Jets is, for the people in this area next to the Steelers.
That's our team.
Because of Joe.
Yep.
The Jets are your favorite team. And you know what? I think they're going to come out this week with Aaron Rodgers. I think they're going to beat the spread. They're going to win the game.
I hope he comes back one more year, Aaron. Just one more. I know. We'll see.
Yeah.
One more year. Chicago getting 6 against Green Bay. Jordan Love and Williams going head to head.
Man, a lot of turmoil in Chicago. Man, I don't know. I feel bad for him. I'd go with the Packers on this one.
LaFleur's they're going to fire this guy. And there's no doubt about it. But I think they really need to get a guy, and I said this the other day. The reason why Ditka was so successful there, because he was like a Chicago type of guy. Ditka's restaurant, steak, cold beer, rough, tough.
Definitely.
Blue-collar mentality. Chicago's a lot like Pittsburgh.
Definitely.
They're going to get the new stadium. They got to get somebody in there who's a scrapper, who kind of resembles like a Dan Campbell from Detroit.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay. Yeah. Jacksonville. So who do you like in that Green Bay-Chicago game?
Green Bay.
All right. Jacksonville getting 13 against Detroit. Trevor Lawrence is done. Doug Peterson may be done. But Detroit, even though Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions last week, I still think he is one of the best in all of football right now. So Detroit spot in Jacksonville.
That's a lot of points. You know, Detroit's probably one of the top 3 teams in the league. Jacksonville's down this year. But wow, that's a lot of points. You know, even the Super Bowl 3 against the Colts, the Jets were getting their 19-point favorite. 13 points. I'd probably still go with the Lions on that.
Okay, Vegas, the Raiders getting 7 against Miami, a much different team with Tua at quarterback.
I go with the Fish on that one.
Okay, up next it's Atlanta getting 1.5 against Denver.
I like Denver. I mean, Bo Nix is
coming on
for a rookie. I mean, I'm not a proponent of rookie quarterbacks. You know, I hate when rookie quarterbacks are thrown in and they start and then like what's happening in Chicago and people want to ridicule these kids. I mean, come on, they need 4 or 5 years to develop as a quarterback in that league. Okay, but you know, I'm going to go with the. What was it?
You got Atlanta getting a 1.5 against Denver.
I'm going to go with Denver because of Bo Nix.
All right, Seattle 6.5 against San Francisco.
The Niners are going to wake up. I think Seattle had a good start this year, kind of leveled off. The Niners have to start getting serious. I'm going to go with San Francisco.
Everybody keeps talking about Buffalo, and obviously Patrick Mahomes. They might not have been playing as good as they have in recent years, but they're still undefeated. But the team you got to look for is up next. It's the Chargers. The Chargers are spotting Cincinnati 2 points. I like the Chargers.
Well, they got a good coach. You know, they got a good coach. Harbaugh wins. You know, he won in the NFL. He won in college. He's going to win again. I like the Chargers.
All right, so Kansas City. This is the game of the weekend, I think. They're getting 2.5 against Buffalo.
Man, they just keep hanging on and pulling these games out, Kansas City. And sooner or later, I think they got to have a down week. I'm going to go with the upset with Buffalo on this one.
BetRivers.net, Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show, Week 11. We pick our weekly winners against the spread, Ted Arnaud and Greg Diulis. All right, so now, Monday Night Football, Westwood One Radio, 93.7 The Fan. Dak is done for the year. They're getting 7.5 against Houston. They're 6-4. I think C.J. Stroud is good, but I'm going to say it again, without Stephon Diggs, and they're going to win their conference because the AFC South is pitiful. But I don't know how far they're going to go deep into the playoffs. But who do you like Monday night?
Well, I don't know how bad Dallas could get. Something inside tells me Dallas is going to upset them in that game. I like Stroud, but even without Dak, I'm going to call the upset on that one and go with the Cowboys. All
right, last one to look at. It's Sunday. It's early. It's the game. This is the statement game for Russell Wilson. This is the statement game for Najee Harris. This is the statement game for T.J. Watt. It's the guy that everyone says is going to be the MVP for the third time in his young career. Their defense is ranked 28th in the NFL. They're horrible. So we have a chance to thread the needle and to tear them up a little bit. But the defense has got to shut Lamar down, Jackson, and Derrick Henry, who can run the football. Who do you like? Steelers are getting 3.5 in this game.
I like the Steelers with the points. It's going to be that close.
If it was 3, would you take them?
Because we've beaten their quarterback 3 out of 4 games. So what he does against the rest of the league, it seems like when he gets in the game with the Steelers, he's not able to do as much.
Why?
I think our game plan against them, I think the way our defense is built, that, you know, he has trouble coming in.
So why do you think a 3-4? Dick LeBeau, even before that, Steelers have always been doing that. Why do you think it seems to work for them? I mean, Cowher, Noel, they all loved it.
Well, you got to have the right personnel. When you have the 3-4, you got to have those 2 outside guys that can cover,
right,
or it can rush. And if you have those 2 guys, like we do with
TJ,
with
Watt,
that Highsmith, and
he's out.
Yeah, I know he's out, but usually he's in there,
right?
But you can do it. The 4-3 is awesome. But if you don't have the right personnel, if you have somebody that maybe not as fast on the outside, and you don't have the tough guys in the middle, so you got to have you have to draft the right personnel for that defense. But once you do it, it's almost it's so hard to move the ball.
They've been doing the 3-4 forever
on that defense because of those outside guys.
TJ Watt, still, everybody's like, well, you know, he's not where he should be with his sack total. Believe me what I'm telling you. He's just getting heated up. He is true. And look, we've had some great ones. Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green. I mean, going back to Lambert, Ham, Russell. I mean, come on.
He's affecting the offenses. Believe me, when in the preparation for this kid, they're taking extra time out for TJ Watt, you know, in their preparation, which is a good thing. And even if he's not getting to the quarterback every play, he's still making a difference. He's a great player.
You realize Joe Namath really started it all. The swagger, the quarterback, the deep ball. Everything, man. He was just the guy. When was the last time?
Still is.
I saw him not too long ago. He looks better than I do.
He still is.
And he's just...
And people don't realize this about him. He only had a 4-year forecast. A 4-year forecast because of his knee. His knee was so bad, the guy could hardly walk.
You know, some people say the reason the Jets haven't won, it's the curse. because they let him go to Los Angeles, the Rams.
It could be like the curse of the Bambino.
Hey,
believe me, that stuff's real, man.
Do you remember seeing him in the Rams uniform? I was like, to this day, it was one of the toughest days of my life.
Yeah,
like Johnny Unitas when he went to play for the Chargers.
But I just don't like when people say, "Well, of all the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, his stats, aren't the best." In that the guy was. You have to look at him like you look at Gale Sayers. You're like a Terrell Davis. Remember, they were so talented, bursting with talent, but because of injuries, have a minimal career. Okay, he played 11 years. Okay, those last 6 years, I don't know how he did it.
My friend, who's the head of the Orthopedic Institute, just a team physician in the Pirates, Doc Pat DeMeo, who I did shows with forever. He grew up in New York. That was his idol as a kid growing up. Can you imagine if they were able to perform the surgery today on Joe back then, arthroscopic surgery, and he had the ability to scramble? You got to realize he basically had no legs for most of his career.
If you see Joe, if you come here and watch his highlight film in high school,
he can run, baby.
You won't believe it, how good that guy was.
The stories just keep getting better. This is Steve Higgins. It's your Pratte Pack. Don't forget, bright and early tomorrow morning, we're back on the radio after local CBS Radio News at 5 a.m. Then, of course, we've got those Coons Quality Food Sports Reports, 5:15 a.m. and every half hour until 7:45 a.m. And we talk everything in the world of sports. Plus, we'll preview the Steelers and Baltimore, look back at Pitt and Clemson, everything, all for you on the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show. And how do you find that Coons Market like the one here in Hopewell? Go to coonsmarket.com. Coons Market, a Pittsburgh tradition. And there's always more sports at 93.7thefan.com.